Have you ever seen The Conjuring, Insidious, Sinister, The Exorcist, The Nun, Amityville Horror? I'm probably not even pronouncing that right. Those are really scary movies depicting evil spirits doing evil actions, malicious actions towards another, and the living person has no sort of control about that. And you have to do a certain ritual to remove it. Well, Hollywood has a wonderful way of portraying that. But before we even get started on this whole podcast and this whole topic, I need to stress to you that you are a celestial light being with a soul contract in this bodysuit, which means you're entitled, universally speaking, to have access to this bodysuit. No other energy has entitlement or permission to access this bodysuit unless you give them permission, which literally means that you are entitled to say no. You absolutely have the right and the authority to say no to everything and anything that tries to influence you in a way that does not represent truth, honesty, purity, and love. And with that being said, now let's get started in a topic that most people don't want to talk about. Throughout history, there has been different types of energy that has tried to snuff out energy. For instance, the dark side has always been trying to snuff out the light, and the light has also been trying to snuff out the dark, because you got these religious people who believe they're in the light, quote unquote, trying to burn people, places, and things that had some sort of evil or negative energy attached to it. So there's this air of fear that people start to become consumed with. And if you go on social media and you start Googling ghosts and dead people and evil spirits and everything in between that, there is such a wide array of people who have this different concept of what evil energy really is. And it scares people so much to just talk about it, because they feel that just talking about it attracts in that energy. No, just talking about the energy actually can invoke an emotional response from you, and that emotional response can then actually invite the energy in. So what do you need to do? Heal the emotional response. And people don't want to heal the emotional response, so they feel that they have to do everything and anything to avoid ever talking about that particular situation. And we kind of play roles kind of similar to Harry Potter, not wanting to talk about Voldemort, the one we don't speak of. We don't speak of him, the name that we cannot say. We try to act as though we know the energy exists, but we don't talk about it and we don't want to acknowledge it. And that's the way that I was raised, and it does not work. I'm going to tell you right now, when we try to avoid things, it doesn't matter what it is, whether it's avoiding making a decision, whether it's a health problem, a car problem, a relationship problem, an emotion, a feeling, whatever it is. If you sit there and you try to avoid your feelings about something or anything, it creates a mess, okay? A bigger chaotic mess than necessary. If you had just dealt with it, you'd feel better. And it's the same thing with evil or negative energy. Just deal with it and then move on with your life. Correct it and then move on with your life. Acknowledge it and then move on with your life. And people spend more time scared and afraid of just that part about acknowledging it, because there's so much unknown about it. And especially because a lot of things are unseen, so it scares more people because they can't really see it. And so because of that, then they turn to other people who are in the spiritual community or in religion, and they also have an air about them of fear, because they've been taught certain concepts about what that fear is and what it looks like and how it's going to act and what's going to happen in between that. And so there's been these extreme methods to overcoming fear, instead of just dealing with the fear and dealing with how to work through that. And if you, depending on who you ask, you can find out a lot about somebody by what they say is their spiritual protection. Some people read off these long prayers and say, oh, you have to say it just like this. And then you got to call in the archangels. And then you got to call in this. And you got to call in that. And then you got to, light incense. And you got to do this. Or you got to get the holy water and then a cross. You got to get that. Or some people say, you got to plead the blood of Jesus Christ. And then my personal favorite one that I hear very often is, call on the white light of protection. That will save you. It'll take everything away from you. Call on that white light of protection. And it's just this ongoing process that we basically recreate over and over again, because we behave in ways where we're trying to avoid or snuff out the darkness instead of trying to understand what it is and create healthy boundaries. Because healthy boundaries means that I can acknowledge you exist, but I can choose to say no, that I don't want you in my energy because I don't like your behavior and I don't want to be a part of that. That is something that people don't understand. And, as above is so also below is kind of the concept of the spirit realm. Everything physical can be a non-physical thing as well, like energetically. So feelings, thoughts, and things like that, they might have physical manifestations here in the earthly realm that we live in, but in the spirit realm, that also is a frequency or vibration at that point. And then everything in between that is the same thing, like things. I've seen energetic lice. I've seen spores in the air. I can see thought forms in the air. You can see dead people, apparitions, multidimensional beings, all kinds of different things that represent different things, so to speak. And so there's this essence, though, of being afraid of it. And why is there fear? Well, it's usually related to the fact that you feel a loss of control. You feel like there's something that you can't control. And so because of that, it's going to do something to you or harm you in some way, shape, or form, or terrorize you. And I got to be honest, there is times in the world where actually a lot more frequently than people would like to admit, where they're dealing with very negative energy in their home, whether it was haunted before they came in or it was an attachment that followed them. A lot of people deal with negative energy. And so before we move forward, what is a poltergeist? Poltergeist, the word in of itself, is a German word for a noisy spirit. What is exorcism? It's the expulsion of evil spirits or a perceived evil spirit from people, places, and things. What is a haunting? It's usually where ghosts are inhibiting that space. So I'm going to take something a little bit extreme here. Think of like the Holocaust and some of these like places where concentration camps were set up. There was a high, massive volume of people passing away, some of them generational at that point, passing away in a short amount of time. Those places are going to be haunted. And that's because there were people that passed away and then were attached to that particular space, attached to the negative energy that was within that space. And then that particular area would then attract in a lot more negative energy as well, because it was just, there was so much fear in that one place that there was so much of a high volume of, like, it's like a vortex that's created at that point that's just sucking out energy. And so then people are drawn into that space because it's negative at that point. It's no different than like a insane asylum or mental institution where people were tortured and then passed away. And that energy is negative. And a lot of people who pass away that way, it's so traumatizing that they're attached to that. They can't just let it go and move on. And their soul can't even, begin to take the next step into another realm because it is so stuck on how it passed away. And it's a trauma that is experienced there. And I've gotten called into homes who, number one, I've heard it all. I mean, I've had people call me up and say, Brittany, I have a demon in my home. You have to come over and help me. And then I go over there and it's not even a demon. It's usually just a very negative dead person who died in a way that was very traumatic, and then they didn't know what to do to move forward, and they became attached to that particular location, and that energy emits off of them. So there's so much fear that that dead person has, that energy emits off of that dead person and then emits onto you. Like you receive that information and take it in. And that just creates a cycle. And a lot of dead people will then just become latched on to certain people, places, and things that have a, like a energy source. And we all have energy source. So everyone, if you have a bodysuit, you're an energy source. And there's energy that has passed away and they want just one more second in a bodysuit. They'll do anything to just be in a bodysuit for one more second. They'll influence you to smoke cigarettes. They'll influence you to do drugs. They'll influence you to drink alcohol because they're just looking for something to get that one little hit or that one last second of being human instead of just crossing over and then going back into a new bodysuit. But they're scared that they're not going to be able to go back into a new bodysuit. So a lot of energy refuses to cross over, or they feel like they didn't do very good in this lifetime and they're going to go to hell. So they feel condemned. Maybe other people on this planet condemned them while they were alive for actions that they did. And so because of that, they feel like they can never become enlightened. Their soul can never move forward on its journey, and they can never redeem themselves. They'll end up in hell. And religion is really, really phenomenal about teaching that. And I gotta be honest here, I still have yet to see a hell realm. I've seen dark matter realms, but no human who's been in a bodysuit, no celestial light being who has been in a bodysuit and then, passed away and crossed over has ever been in a dark matter realm. I have never seen it. And it's because when you pass away, you have two places you can go. Either you are attached to the spirit realm, the earthly spirit realm, and you're refusing to cross over, which means go through this light portal that takes you into a new realm. And that new realm is a waiting realm, and then you're going to go in front of what's known as the karmic board or celestial high court. And they're only going to judge what lessons you've already learned. They're only there to help you navigate into the next lifetime, because a lot of people have not learned their lessons, so they're gonna come back to Earth. They have to come back to Earth. Sometimes you even bypass the process of, the waiting room and the celestial high court because of the fact that you try to not so to speak, avoid certain things. And so because of that, you literally go through the light and you end up in another bodysuit. And by another bodysuit, I mean you're literally coming back to Earth and going right back into the womb. You have things that you have to learn. And people spend so much time thinking about energy and how evil acts are done in the world. And we are not, as a society, talking about behavior. Behavior is not what condemns a person. There is no such thing as being condemned on the other side. When a person is malicious or evil intending, what is that root cause of that? Think about the root cause. Every single behavior that you display on a daily basis reflects something deep within you that needs to be healed, or reflects even happiness if you're happy. But if you're malicious and you're evil intending, 9 times out of 10, there's some unhealed trauma and there's fear. It is always linked back to fear. And so that's no different for any other multidimensional being. People that perceive demons are, I get it. I get that people would see things that really scare them. But at the same time, the energy is still the same. The evil actions that are being done, it always is rooted in fear. So how do you work through that? I've had a wide range of clients over the years, and a lot of them come to me and they've had years and years of attachment, they've had some sort of evil energy that's attached to them, and it's causing and wreaking havoc in their home and in their household. And so it creates so much fear. The first thing that I do is talk about trauma. I talk about how we can start navigating into more states of self-care, because the more that you're in a state of self-care, the more that you can then begin to work through these traumatic events that happen. And got to be honest, having poltergeist activity in your home is very traumatic, especially if it's an energy that's very fearful. It's going to create fear. And there's nothing more terrorizing than being shaken awake, or paralyzed, and you feel like you have no control over your body and there's energy overtaking you, or you are having nightmares, or you feel like something's always attached to your body. You can't explain it. It's just this feeling that you get, or you get the creepy crawlies all over your body, or you feel like you're being watched in your home, or whatever the case is. I've heard it all. And in the end, it always links back to the fear. It always links back to the trauma that people experience. When I go into a home, I go right to their bathroom. It's the most used room of the house. And I have everybody close the doors. I'll usually call in all of the clients. So the entire household of people, I'll have them all come into the bathroom, and we'll shut the doors, and we'll stop up the light from underneath the door, and we'll turn off the lights. And I do that because I want people to feel the energy of the room and of their home instead of what they perceive the energy to be. And then I say something like, the power of Christ compels all energy in this home to reveal itself to me now with love and compassion. And at that point, you'll see orbs. People will start describing what they're feeling. And as we start navigating that, I will start performing mediumship. So I will start sharing what I'm seeing in the home, what energy I'm picking up. And I'll talk about how it behaves and what it acts like. And it usually kind of makes sense because the client has felt that over the years or seen it done. And there's always a reason code for why it's doing that. I have seen everything from creature-like energies that are multidimensional beings that have never been human before, and I have seen actual humans that are acting as if they're like demonic of sorts. I've seen a lot of wide range of energies, and in the end, there is nothing more powerful than love. So in that moment in the bathroom, when we're doing that, when we're kind of acknowledging the energy, that's the first step, is we acknowledge the energy. After we've acknowledged the energy, then the next step is to take action towards that. So now we've acknowledged it. We're now going to validate it. We're going to say something, I usually will acknowledge it, ask it questions about why it's here, what made it come in to begin with. And then we begin discussing terms and conditions, meaning it doesn't really have the authority to be there. So why is it there? And what can we do to help it work through what it needs to work through? So if it's a passed away person, what can I do to help you cross over? And if it's a multidimensional being, you need to go back to your realm. And that's literally what I have pretty much said every single time, and it's worked, because it's about kind of correcting the root of the problem. After we get the root of the problem solved, where we send it back wherever it needs to go, then the next step is teaching the client how to set energetic boundaries. Then that means literally they have to take ownership of their bodysuit, and they need to take ownership of their home. So case in point, a way to take ownership of your bodysuit would be to say something along the lines of, from my head to my toes, this is my bodysuit. I have full permission to be here in this bodysuit on this particular lifetime. This is my bodysuit. I am powerful. I am unique, and I am divinely protected. I say something like that. I add little affirmations in, but it really doesn't matter how you say it. The point is just say that, something like that. Then the next step is to take ownership of your home. So from the ceilings to the floors, to the windows, to the walls, to the doorways, to every single crevice of this home, every dark space, every light space, every single item. I take full ownership of this particular home. This is my home. I have the authority to be here. No other energy that is of darkness, that is of negative energy, that is draining, depleting, or creating a state of fear has any permission to be here. And I shit you not, it works every time. My client always talks about, oh my God, it feels so much lighter in here. And then we do something like sage or Palo Santos, or my favorite stuff is like singing bowls and gongs, because it's so high vibrational. It will clear out rooms, but sage works too, clearing out, certain energy in rooms. It makes a difference. But people rely so much more on the tools instead of the actual words and boundaries they set up. And so what I just did, what the process I just walked you through, those are boundaries. You're setting the boundary of what is okay and what is not going to be okay. And it doesn't mean, in acknowledging, I hear it all the time, well, I can't acknowledge it because if we acknowledge it, it makes it real. And it's like, well, it is real. It's knocking on your window, and it's, shaking your bed, and it's freaking you out. So it is real. Let's go ahead and acknowledge it, validate it, and then make it leave. That's it. And I've heard it all, though. I can't stress enough. I was watching a paranormal investigating show one time, and this psychic medium was talking to this couple whose kids were being terrorized by two dead people. And she was talking about having a Wiccan come in and do a bunch of spell work, and that they would need to continue to do that until they moved. And I'm just I was appalled when I heard that, because I was just that teaches us that we're not empowered, that we're not powerful enough to say, this is not okay, I say no. My no means no. And then take energetic authority of our bodysuits and our house. And because of that, it's fascinating, because even in a Hollywood sense, even a professional psychic medium who is supposed to be an expert in this field is talking about giving away your power more. It blows me away when I hear these different concepts, because I'm like, where is the state of love there? We're all supposed to find love is the most powerful, most potent feeling that you can possibly have. And love endures all things. I mean, there's so many scriptures on love. Love has no bounds. Love means that you have protection, because love in of itself is protection. And so when I hear these stories, it makes me so sad, because I just want everyone to realize that, evil energy is not necessarily what you perceive it to be. I'm known in the spiritual community as Big Mama, because I go into homes when I have to deal with a poltergeist, which is not too often, not like it used to be, which is good. But when I do go into homes, I have that Big Mama energy where I'm like, oh, come here, baby. I don't care if it's snarling, screaming, or whatever at me. I'm just in a state of love. And I'm ready to assist and help all souls, because no soul is ever going to be greater than or less than. And I don't look at an evil energy. It doesn't matter how they come in or how they perceive themselves to be. In the end, it's still an energy, and it's usually confused energy. And so transmuting the energy by creating love in the atmosphere repels away negative energy. And so no matter what you're going through, and I'm sure there's probably going to be quite a few people that respond to this podcast because they're going to get upset. No matter what you're going through in your life, it's important to remember that you are powerful. You are amazing. And everything that you feel, that you think of, and everything in between that is significant and valid. And no matter what tries to come up against you, whether that's a physical person, place, or thing, or maybe it's in the energetic world and you're having a rough time with setting boundaries, and there's a lot of fear that's coming up to the surface, I want you to know you're not alone. You're going to be okay. And there is always a way to work through it.